Yo, what's going on, guys? It's time for another reaction video, and this time I'm going to be reacting to 50 weird and confusing facts about British people that might... Oh. Okay, start over. Yo, what's going on, guys? It is time for another reaction video, and this time I'm going to be reacting to 50 weird and confusing facts about British life and culture.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to English with Lucy. Today, I'm very hot, and it's only 19 degrees. We're going to talk about that later. Today, I'm going to talk to you about 50 weird and random facts about British culture. Now, this lesson's more of a fun one. It's going to be great for your listening practice. And if you want to improve your pronunciation alongside your listening, I highly recommend Audible. It's an online database of audiobooks, and I've got loads of recommendations in the description box. And basically, if you listen to an audiobook narrated by a native speaker at the same time as reading the actual book, it's basically the key to learning perfect pronunciation. You can claim your free audiobook and 30-day free trial by clicking on the link in the description box, where I've also put loads of recommendations for great audiobooks to help you improve your English.
If you guys want to take advantage of that, the link to her video will be in my description, and you can go over to her channel and click on her link. Go help her out, since I'm getting to borrow this content to make the reaction video.
Right, let's get started with the video. Fact number 1, tea is by far the most popular drink drunk by Brits. Maybe you knew this, but apparently we drink 165 million cups of tea every single day.
Kind of knew this already, and one of the recent videos I reacted to went in depth about that as well. I think that's pretty equivalent here to soft drinks, where tea here as well, but tea here, we're not drinking it as hot tea, we're drinking it as cold tea or sweet tea.
Bananas. I've drunk no tea today. It's not my favourite, I don't hate it, I'll have it if I'm offered, but yeah. Number 2, on our main TV channels, that's channel 1 and 2 and quite a few others, they're run by the BBC and we don't have any adverts. This is because we pay a licence fee, and I think it's over £100 a year, but basically we have to pay. If we have a TV, we have to pay it, even if we don't want to watch the BBC. Now, I kind of like it because I like ad-free TV, but I also don't want the BBC to tell me whether I can have a TV or not.
Somebody tell me in the comments below, is it $100 per TV or $100 per household? How does that work? Because here in the States, it's common to have multiple TVs within a single home. So curious how that works.
Number 3, queues are incredibly important to us. If you push into a queue, if you queue jump, you will be universally hated in Britain. It doesn't make sense. Comment below if queues are important in your country, because I went to Spain and I lived there for a while and people did not respect queues. I
feel like it's important here. I would say the greater majority of people here respect it, but there's always going to be that one jerk that just cuts or thinks that they don't have to follow the same rules as everybody else. But if you're going to a grocery store and there's a line, you get in line or queue behind whoever's last in line. What kills me too is those times where it's like, maybe you're waiting to go to like an event or something like that, and one person holds the line, and then slowly they keep letting more and more people in with them, and next thing you know, they got an entourage of like 20 people that they let pretty much cut in line, and I don't think that's fair either. So
in Spain, I remember being in a bank and some lady thought that her problem was more important than my problem, and she just pushed in and was like, sorry, this is an emergency. I was like, in Britain, that would never happen.
I would have been like, yeah, sorry, mine's an emergency too, get behind me.
Number 4, please, sorry, and thank you basically dominate all of our social interactions. It's so ingrained into our brains that we often bump into things and then apologise to the inanimate object. Like, I have whacked my shoulder on a door and said, oh, sorry, and then felt really stupid and British at the same time.
That's hilarious. We don't do it to inanimate things, and I wouldn't say this is universal across the U.S., but it is more common in the southern states to be more polite like this. In the northern states, not quite so much. They always say southern hospitality, and it's just because in general in the South, for the most part, people are just polite and kind in general. I know myself, I'm guilty of over apologizing quite often. Even sometimes when it's not my fault, for whatever reason, I just still apologize. I don't know. It's just in my nature to do so. Maybe it's because my grandmother's from England. I don't know. Small town, Corby, England, if anybody knows where that is.
But yeah, just a simple task like passing the salt at a dinner table. Sorry, please could you pass the salt? Thank you. Sorry, excuse me, please. Honestly, we say it about 8 times.
It's just having manners to me, though. I mean, I think it's respectful to be polite and courteous to other people and ask for things with gratitude.
Number 5, when you greet a friend in the UK, you don't normally shake their hand. Normally, you give them 1 kiss on the cheek. If you've recently been in the rest of Europe, then you might give 2 kisses by mistake and say, oh, sorry, just got back from France, just got back from Spain. And if you're feeling very masculine and you are with another very masculine person, then even though you know them very well, you might still shake their hand, but that's only if you're very, very masculine. Number 6.
The U.S. is a bunch of different ways. Quite often it depends on the how well you know somebody. It might be a hug. If you're in a professional atmosphere and it's like a business event, it's probably going to be a handshake. If it is like with your close friends or your bros, you might do like a half hug kind of thing, or you might just do like a fist bump. There's a lot of different ways it could be done, and I think it's going to vary regionally all over throughout the U.S. of what's more common or not. So yeah, there is no like universal way to greet somebody. I mean, a lot of the times it might just be like, hey, what's going on? Or hey, what's up? Or hey, how are you doing? And a nod as well without any actual physical contact.
When the sun comes out, because it doesn't come out so often, we make the most of it. In 15-degree heat, we will wear sandals, mini skirts, strappy tops, bikinis, and we will get very, very sunburnt as well. The day after a sunny day, everyone is red. It's terrible. Also, our houses are not designed to cope with the heat. As I'm experiencing right now, it's 19 degrees outside and I am absolutely dying.
I need to see what 19 degrees is. What is 19 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit?
66.2 degrees Fahrenheit.
So 66.2 degrees is hot for you, that's kind of crazy because that's cool weather here. Where I'm at, it gets up to 100. So what is 100 Fahrenheit in Celsius?
37.778 degrees Celsius.
So on a regular basis here, it's pretty much, I guess, 37 in Celsius. So yeah, it's very hot here, but we have air conditioner in most places, and I'm guessing from what you're describing, maybe there's no central AC. And then I've also learned recently that y'all don't get a whole lot of sunlight here. It is bright and sunny all the time, at least in my area, 9 or 10 months out of the year, bright and sunny.
Number 7, British cuisine. Well, our most known dish is probably the Sunday roast or beef and Yorkshire puddings. However, we actually voted for our national dish and we voted for a chicken tikka masala, which is an Indian dish.
I just learned about those recently in one of the food reactions I did for Britain.
Number 8, if you are on public transport, it is highly expected that you give up your seat for an elderly person or a disabled person. And if you don't do it, people will tut at you. This is a very British thing.
I would do that here and even get up for females. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people in the U.S. that are just jerks and inconsiderate, and they could care less, and they're not going to give up their seat for anybody. I would say it's probably mixed, like half the people would probably say, yeah, let me get up, and the other half are just going to be jerks, and they're not gonna move.
People just go. But we don't like to be too direct. Sometimes we muster up enough courage to say, excuse me, that person needs that seat, but we're not going to be too confrontational about it. And if we are ever confrontational with someone on public transport, we spend the next week coming down from the adrenaline and replaying the situation in our head, telling our mates about it. It's a big deal. Number 9, our humour can be quite difficult to understand. We love sarcasm, we have quite dark sense of humour, we can be quite dry, so we can say things without smiling. I love the British sense of humour, but it can offend people sometimes. So that's to be them.
I'm familiar with it. I even understand a lot of the jokes. I don't find them offensive. I just don't really find them that funny. And don't hate me for saying that, but it's just a lot of the jokes are just, things don't translate, I guess, the same way. And even though they're English to English, it comes down to culture, right? And so I'm sure there's probably somewhere in there, there's maybe a small piece of it that I'm not catching, but for the most part, I generally catch them. I've watched enough British programming to kind of get a gist of what's funny, and I grew up with a British grandmother as well. But I just don't usually find the humor that funny, but I also don't think the show Friends is funny. So I think it's a pretty terrible show.
Number 10, the majority of museums in London are free. And we do actually use them quite a lot. There's been a big increase in Brits trying to do cultural things, which I think is great.
That is awesome that they're free. Here in Houston, we have a lot. We have a lot of museums. I think the greater majority of them have at least one day a week that's free, but it's usually like a random day in the middle of the week. My guess is probably what has typically been their slow day. So they say, oh, we're not going to get much business today. Why don't we just make it free? And I know they do a lot of free stuff to a certain age for children, but sometimes the adults still have to pay. So it varies depending on what you're going to.
Hasn't quite reached me yet, but I did go to the museum in my village last year, so that was great. Number 11, if you are invited to the home of a British person, if they are providing a meal or a party for you, then you are sort of expected to bring some sort of gift. Normally a bottle of wine, some flowers, or chocolates. If you don't bring a gift, we wouldn't say anything about it, but we would silently judge you.
Here it's pretty common to bring something, maybe a side dish or a beverage. So very similar, but I wouldn't say it's like every time. If it's a group of friends and you meet fairly regularly, and maybe it's just one person's house in particular that happens to host quite often, you might bring something one time, and then maybe you might skip it the next time, and then you could bring it the next time after that. Or, you know, maybe people within the group, if it's a group of friends, might kind of share bringing something. I think it really all depends on the event or that you're going to, why you're meeting. And with this being said, since I know there's 50 of these, I'm not going to stop it on every single one, because otherwise this video is going to end up being like an hour long. So I'll stop on the ones I think there's something more notable to talk about.
Number 12, we are absolutely obsessed with our animals here. By animals, I mean pets. We put our pets before our own children sometimes. We are dog and cat crazy.
I know I just said I wasn't going to stop on everyone, but that is very much the same here in the US. I personally have no pets. I have no children. The reason I don't have any pets is because I live alone, and my schedule is changes quite often. Sometimes I'm in the office, sometimes I'm working from home, and I wouldn't feel that it would be fair for a pet to be here alone quite often. And I wouldn't like to have to coordinate trying to find a pet sitter if I decide to do a spur of the moment trip somewhere or an extended evening. I don't want to have to worry about any of that. So that's the only reason I personally don't have a pet. But I think they said that the pet industry here in the US, not only is it like a multi-billion-dollar a year industry, it just keeps growing year over year. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's some people who have pets versus children. They'd rather just have their pets, and that's it.
Number 13, as soon as the sun comes out, we leave work, when it's a good time to leave work, normally 5 o'clock, and we go straight to a pub garden. We don't go inside the pub, we go straight to the pub garden, or if there's no direct route to the garden, then we will march through the pub directly to the garden. We love a pub garden. In fact, when I finish this video, I'm going straight there with my neighbour. 14, that brings me on to our drinking culture. It's quite bad, but it's getting better. It's very normal to see some very, very drunk people on Friday and Saturday nights and Sunday nights if it's a bank holiday, which means we have the Monday off work. But millennials, our younger generation, are drinking less, which is a very good thing, and binge drinking cases are going down. Number 15, if we hold open a door for you, which we...
Drinking here is pretty common too. I think it varies depending on age range, household. There's a lot of different factors. Even if you're not going out somewhere to drink on the weekends, a lot of the times people will have a few friends over and hang out and drink. But I wouldn't say it's like everybody drinks on the weekends. I used to work in the nightlife industry for probably like 10 plus years. And before I was working in that industry, I was going out for like 10 years. And so I used to go out every weekend and I would have a few drinks. I wasn't falling over drunk, but I would have a few drinks. But in more recent years, I would say in the last like 6 or 8 years, I really don't drink hardly at all. Like very seldomly do I drink. And that's just my own personal choice. But it's pretty normal for people to have some drinks, especially if it's a Friday and Saturday night.
Probably will. We expect a thank you. However, if somebody holds a door open for us and it's actually at a really awkward distance, so we have to kind of walk faster and they have to wait for ages holding the door, both parties hate this situation, but we still say thank you and we still do it because I don't know why. It's polite. Number 16, we are, this is divided. Some of us are very polite drivers and some of us are very rude. The polite drivers will probably let you through, but they will expect a thank you. We live for that thank you wave. Sometimes people just lift a finger and that's enough. I just like the acknowledgement. I'm a polite driver.
I feel like there's bad drivers and aggressive drivers and very few good drivers here and very few polite drivers here. It's usually just a bunch of people who drive like trash and then the people who are more aggressive and just want to get where they're going and are just trying to maneuver the traffic. But hardly ever is somebody gonna just like let you in. It happens, but it's usually you gotta kind of force your way in. And let me mention too that I live in Houston. Houston's the fourth largest city in the country, and it's very much a driving city. You know, we do have public transportation, but the majority of people drive their own vehicles. So we have a lot of traffic. So it may just be here in my area that it's a little bit more aggressive. I've driven in other states and some of them were not as bad. But the traffic situation in Houston is pretty intense.
Polite drivers also love to tut and shake their head at impolite drivers who have not thanked you for letting them pass. Number 17, in many cultures around the globe, women want to have lighter skin, but in the UK, we want to have darker skin. Well, not all of us, but a lot of us like to use fake tanning products to make our skin darker. I must admit, I've got some on today. I'm a very light shade of orange, on my knees particularly, and we don't have much sun, we don't get much chance to tan, and having a tanned complexion I think is almost a sign of wealth, like you've been on holiday recently. I just think I look healthier with a bit of a tan, but you might not agree. Number 18, we are very divided over the royal family. Some people think it brings in loads of tourism and money. Some people think that they spend way too much money, and there's never really been a study to show whether they bring a profit or loss to the country. So it's a funny one, we just don't know. Number 19, the weather in summer can never be guaranteed. So we don't actually go on holiday in our own country that much. We do, but we can't guarantee it's going to be a sunny beach holiday. A couple of years ago, my family and I went away to Cornwall to a beach resort, and there was not a single day of sunshine. It poured it down the entire time. And we just said, never again. We will always go abroad now. Number 21, we like to thank the bus driver when we get off the bus. In London, on the school bus, anywhere, it's pretty normal to say thank you as we get off. My school bus driver was absolutely amazing. He actually used to buy us all Easter eggs. A whole school bus of children. He was lovely. His name was Roger. I hope I get to see him again. Number 22, dinner is often our biggest meal of the day. I'm talking about evening dinner. We have a fairly heavy breakfast, a light lunch, and then a heavy dinner. And we normally have breakfast between 7 and 8, lunch between 12 and 1, and dinner between 6 and 7 normally. Number 23, how are you and you all right are not genuine questions. If we say, hi, you're right, I don't actually expect you to answer saying, well, actually, no, I'm not, my goldfish died. I just expect you to say, yeah, you're right. And that's it. Top quality interaction.
We have what it's similar here. Somebody might say, hey, how's it going? Or hey, what's up? Or hey, how was your day? But in general, it's just like, good, and you? And then you say, I'm good. And then that's kind of how that goes. It's nobody really wants to hear how your day was. It's just like a formality, just being polite. Like, hey, how's it going? How was your day? Oh, it was good. How are you? Good. All right. Have a great day. See ya.
Number 24, our population is incredibly diverse. In London, for example, in 2011, when they did the census that they do every 10 years, 44.9% of the population were white British. That means London as a city is so diverse, and it's something that a lot of us are really proud of. However, if you go up to the northeast, 93.6% of the population were white British. So it's not evenly distributed.
That is very much the same here in the US. It's going to vary from state to state and even city to city. But Houston is actually one of the most diverse cities in the entire country, and there are more languages spoken in Houston than anywhere else in the world. There's more dialects and more languages spoken here than anywhere. So it is quite diverse here, very mixed bowl of ethnicities, races, whatever you want to call it. My personal group of friends is very, very diverse, very mixed, people from all over the world, and even the ones that I grew up with here locally. A lot of them are first generation, or it's just very diverse.
Number 25, we care a lot about where you stand on an escalator, and we will tut and shake our heads if you stand in the wrong place. And I always see tourists do this. You have to stand on the right, and you have to leave enough room for busy, rushy people to overtake you. Otherwise, they won't say anything, but they'll stand there and tut and maybe even say, excuse me, excuse me. Just be prepared.
My question to that is this escalators that are going up like stairs, or are these the flat escalators like the ones in the airport? Because the ones that go up, I quite often will walk up them, but the greater majority of people will just stand on them. But the ones in the airports, the flat ones that just kind of cut your walk time in half, I like to walk across those like really rapidly so I can get 3, 4, 5 times as fast as I would if I was just walking. And it drives me nuts when people get on that and they just stand there and then they put their luggage on the other side and block the whole thing. Don't even get on there if you're just going to do that. Get out and walk, or like she just said, stay on the right side, leave the left side open for passing. It's just like if you're driving your vehicle. Right lane is for slow people, left lane is for fast or passing.
26, we drink beer and cider in pints. Sometimes we drink a half pint, and our beer is sometimes served warm. Not lagers, but our British ales, we serve them at room temperature.
I can't drink warm room temperature beer, period. Just can't do it. And then the sizes here, it's all over the place because a lot of places will serve it in a bottle. Some places, not as many, but some places will serve it in a can. It could be a can this size. If you go to a sports arena, like here we have Houston Astros, we've got the Houston Rockets, the Texans, the Dynamo. And sometimes there'll be a can that's like 3 or 4 times the size of this for a single beer. But then if you order it in draft, some places will have standard size bar glass, which I guess is probably a pint, or you might have a beer mug, or they might have a big mug. There's a lot of different ways you can order it, and you really just kind of got to get accustomed to wherever you're going, or look around before you order and see what you see sitting around, and you're like, okay, they're all draft here, or they're not using mugs, they're using glasses. I don't want to say it's not confusing, but it's really not that confusing. You just got to figure out what they're serving at wherever you're at.
And that can be shocking for some people. 27, we are terrified of wasps. The most serious, straight-laced person is likely to cause a massive flap and go, "Whoa!" if a wasp comes. I was in a church watching a wedding ceremony the other day, and a wasp came, and it was absolute carnage. And of course, all the women had flower decorations in their hair, which just made it all the more hilarious. I just observed and thought, I'm going to put this in a video. Number 28, our winters are really dark. In the peak of winter, the sun doesn't come up till past 9, and it goes down just after 3. It means that you can go into the office and leave the office without seeing sunlight. It is really quite intense.
When we do daylight savings, like right now, it's not quite that extreme, but I definitely hate it because, like, when we do the normal time, it's pretty bright, you know, from like 7 o'clock in the morning till like 8 o'clock at night. And then when winter rolls around, and then we also do daylight savings, then you go from like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and by like 4:30, it's already getting dark. So if you work till 5, like me, good luck seeing daylight by the time you get off work. I hate daylight savings. They were supposed to officially get rid of it, and it was supposed to go into effect November of 2023, and now they're trying to potentially change that. I really hope they stick to it and just get rid of it and go to the other time, because I prefer more daylight over this darkness.
29, carpets are a key feature in our houses, and I'm not sure how I feel about this. Carpets in a bedroom, okay, but in a lot of old-fashioned houses, we have carpets in the bathroom, which I don't think is hygienic, and it shocks quite a lot of people when they come over here. We also have carpets on the stairs, which are really, really hard to clean. I know that when I design my own house, I won't be having so much carpet in it.
For me, growing up, it was pretty standard to have carpet in most rooms of the house, but not the kitchen or the restrooms, none of the wet areas. And hallways sometimes might be tile or linoleum or some sort of hard floor. But bedrooms, living room, den, dining, not kitchen dining, but like maybe like a formal dining, it would be pretty common to have carpet. Nowadays, I think it's a preference. A lot of people want hard surface floors, and there are some people who want carpet, or they might want carpet only in the bedrooms and nowhere else. Me personally, I rather have hardwood floors or tile, and then maybe have like a throw rug in certain rooms than having carpet. I feel like carpet's kind of gross. It never really gets truly clean. If you have a rug and the rug gets worn out, you can roll it up, toss it out, and get a new one, or get it professionally cleaned. And yes, you can get your carpets professionally cleaned here, but ultimately what happens is when it's spraying all that water, it's just pushing all the debris down below the pad, and they're sucking a lot of it up, but a lot of the debris is just going to settle underneath the carpet and then underneath the pad. So it's never really like fully going away. That's just my personal opinion. I've seen carpet pulled up and then there's just mounds of dust and dirt under it, and I think that's kind of disgusting. So yeah, so carpet here, it's all over the place.
Number 30, our plugs are different. We have a 3-pronged plug, which is different to the European plugs, so make sure you bring an adapter with you.
We also have a 3-pronged plug, but our 3-pronged plug is different from y'all's 3-pronged plug.
Let me see if I have a plug. God, I'm so hot. Yeah, this is our plug. It's a 3-pronged plug, and this is an earth prong. Tom Scott,
We call that, you called earth, we call that a ground.
has got a really good video on this. This is going to be this one of 2 times that I recommend his videos in this video. I think he's got a video explaining that, and it's a really good one, so I'll link it down below. I am going to mention another of his videos later on. 31, our society really doesn't prioritise religion. Church attendance and membership numbers have been falling drastically. In the 1930s, church membership was at 30%, and now it is at 10% or lower. A lot of people just go to church on really important events like weddings, Christmas, and maybe Easter.
I think that's going to be very similar here, but it's also going to be regionally, and it's also going to depend on the religion. I grew up going to church every single Sunday. When I hit 16 years old and started working, Sundays was a good day for me to make money and work. And so I slowly stopped going to church as often. And then when I moved out of the household from my parents and got older, I just don't go that often, you know. I go for, like you said, weddings and funerals, maybe the occasional holidays, but I just don't go that often. But there are certain areas of the country that are diehard church going every Sunday or multiple times a week, even sometimes. It just depends on the religion. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know any statistics here. I would have to look up statistics, but the majority of the people I knew and grew up with that used to go to church on a regular basis don't go that often. Doesn't mean they're not religious. They just don't go to the church as much as they used to.
Number 32, we often have separate taps, or faucets as you might call them, for hot and cold water, especially in old-fashioned houses. This is where I talk about Scomtot. This is where I talk about Tom Scott's video. He's got a really, really good video explaining why this is, because I've always wondered, because I've always grown up with having to choose between boiling hot water on my face or freezing cold water on my face, and just thinking, why can't we just mix them? We do have mixer taps now, but it was something to do with the tanks that stored hot water. They couldn't legally be mixed with drinking water, hence why hot in one, cold drinking water in another. Again, it's something I have in my house right now, but when I move into my own house, I will be making sure that all taps are.
A long time ago, it was separate here, but I would say almost anywhere in the US, pretty much everywhere, it's going to be a mixed faucet, because like you just said, you want to have that warm temperature, or you basically want to be able to adjust that temperature to a comfortable temperature. You don't want to have to fill the sink up every time you need to wash your face or something like that. It just seems weird to have one over the other and not mixed.
Mixed taps. Number 33, we drive on the left, but we walk on the right. So you must drive on the left-hand side of the road, but you must go up the escalator on the right. Number 34, when something is in fashion, all women end up wearing the same thing, even if it doesn't suit them. I've had so many friends come over from abroad and say, oh my God, everyone is wearing the same thing. And I hadn't noticed it before, but it is true. I remember there was a fashion of like quite see-through black leggings, and they didn't look good on anyone, but everyone seemed to wear them with the wrong coloured underwear underneath. Number 35, when we're 18, we are sort of expected by our parents to move out and start our lives. In a lot of countries, people will stay with their parents till they're well in their 30s. Here, we just want to get out as soon as possible, and our parents want us out as soon as possible.
In the US, this varies a lot. It varies a whole lot. My father is from Cuba, and so I grew up with, my mom, her father was from Texas, but her mom was from England, so we got that side, and then my dad's side being Hispanic. Hispanic families in general, they want you to stay at the house as long as they can keep you there. They want you to live there till forever. Others, it may, move out at 18, or maybe you move out when you go to college or something like that. I have a lot of close friends that are Asian, and the same thing, not all of them, but a lot of them, their parents want them to stay in the household unless they're going off to college or something. I think it's just, the thought on this is basically it's all over the place. I had a lot of my friends that lived at their households with their parents till in their mid-20s or so. And then I had a lot of them that moved out on, their first year of college, and they never went back. So it's mixed. It's mixed here.
If we go to university, we go at 18, and we normally go to a university that's quite far from our own home. However, if we're going to start a job straight away, then yes, we might stay with our parents a bit longer. It is becoming more common to move back in with your parents after you finish university. That is something that I did for 6-ish months when I was starting my business after graduating. Number 36, our university fees are high, very, very high. For UK residents, £9,000 a year, grand is pounds, £1,000, £9,000 a year, and for international students, it can be much, much higher.
Here, It depends on if you're going to a junior college or a full-fledged university. It depends if you're in junior college. It depends if you're in district or out of district. If it's a university or a college, there's a lot of different cost variations as well. But I remember, God, man, I think my sister-in-law graduated from college about 10 years ago. She went to University of Texas, and she did a 5-year bachelor and master's in one. And I want to say her school was well over $100,000, 100, 120, 130, something like that for 5 years. So you're talking about 9,000 pounds a year. This would have been closer to like 20 to 25,000 a year, something like that. And to my understanding, the cost has only gone up since then. So there's a lot of factors. How many hours of schooling are you taking? Are you getting the built-in lunch programs? Are you staying in school housing? There's so many different factors, and it's going to vary from, like I said, one institution to another. But overall, it is very, very expensive to go to college or university here.
Number 37, we have ice cream trucks that drive around our villages playing a tune, like a little dingy bell tune, and it's the most exciting sound as a child. I never had it because I lived in a rural village, but when I went to the park or to see friends, I remember hearing this noise and being like, "Ah, the ice cream man!" But I think my friend's mum told her that the ice cream man only played this tune when he'd run out of ice cream, which I think is the meanest thing ever.
We have them all over the place here. This song is typically and then it just starts over and over and over and over. And then there's a few of them in more recent years that got a little bit more fancy, and they put kind of like a little bit of this like little bass clap noise in there. So it's kind of funny because it's still the same song, but it's got this like little more bassy beat to it. It's like the dance remix.
Number 38, we don't use our car horns that often. They are for angry emergencies, or just emergencies, not necessarily angry ones. I went to Bali last year or the year before, and they just use them all the time to say hello and to nudge people. No, over here, car horns are quite a big deal. And if someone beeps their horn at you, you spend the rest of the car journey getting over it.
People don't use them a ton here. It's usually if somebody's just like really upset and they're like letting you know, or if somebody's genuinely about to get hit or something, they're gonna lay on the horn perhaps to let you know. Or like you mentioned, angry. But I too, I went to the Philippines. Again, this has been about 10 years. And they would do like slight taps on the horns or flashing of the lights instead of using turn signals and blinkers. That was like their communication. I used to joke and say it was kind of like, you know, bats sending signals to each other to navigate. Their combination of flashing lights and the occasional taps of the horns is like how they maneuvered everywhere.
I've had one car horn ruin my entire day. 39. Car drivers hate cyclists and cyclists hate car drivers. It's a war on the road at the moment. Cycling has increased massively in popularity and car drivers are not happy about it.
It's about the same here, especially if you're in the more urban areas like the cities. The suburban areas, it's not as bad. But in the urban areas, they're putting in all sorts of bike lanes, but they don't really fit that well. The cyclists quite often don't observe the traffic signs or the traffic laws. But then they'll say that the drivers are not observing them, so it goes both ways. One thing that's different here, and I don't know if this is across the board nationally, but I know at least in Texas, we have to pay to get tags for your vehicle every year. And some of that money is what goes towards streets and roads. Cyclists don't have to pay that. So I think what would make more sense and be more accommodating is if they would just make wider sidewalks and put the cyclists and the pedestrians walking up there. It'd be safer for everybody and off of the street, as opposed to just cramming them into the street with cars going 30, 40, 50 miles an hour. That doesn't make any sense to me.
40. Our supermarkets are very big and they have a huge range of pre-prepared food, so ready meals to cook in the microwave. I've been to lots of other countries and I've never seen the range that we have, apart from perhaps in America. 41. If we live in a city, we tend to totally mind our own business. We don't talk to our neighbours, we may be stretched to a hello sometimes, and you really don't get to know people outside of your own friend group and your social activities and work. In a village, however, it's completely different and you have quite a hard time protecting your business. If you tell a secret to someone, the whole village will know. I kind of like it though.
Here it varies. I live in the middle of the city. I know a couple of my neighbors in my building, but I just don't see them that often, just in passing. But when I had my house, which was still in the city, but just not in like downtown, and I knew pretty much all my neighbors, and I would talk to them quite often. So I think really it depends on whether or not you like your neighbors, and if you're just a talkative, outgoing person or not. It's not for everybody though. Some people just want to go into their house and they don't want to talk to a single person.
Number 42, we find it incredibly rude if somebody talks on their phone loudly on public transport. And the best example of this is the train going to and from Luton Airport and Gatwick Airport. You can see before it arrives to Gatwick, everyone's just sitting in silence, and then as soon as you've gone past it, it's just filled with tourists that don't know, our society rules, just talking really, really loudly to their mums, say that they've arrived safely, and all of the British people looking like...
I find it personally annoying when people are overly loud on their phone. I wouldn't say it's completely frowned upon to be talking on your phone as long as you're not disturbing the people around you. But there's a lot of people here who just don't care. They're going to be loud. It's almost like they're going to be loud on the phone even more because for some reason they think they're cool for talking on their phone and everybody needs to hear their conversation because whatever they're talking about is just so interesting and everybody needs to hear it. I've never really quite gotten that. And then the other one is when people will have their earbuds in and you can't see them and it seems like they might be talking to you at times and you go to respond until you realize, oh wait, they're not talking to me. That can happen too.
They're talking loudly on public transport. What do we do? 43. Our tabloid gossip newspapers are disgusting. They are terrible. They lie so much, but we all secretly read them. I can't say all of us, but many of us will secretly read the Daily Mail.
I'd say it's like half here. I hate it. I think it's trash. I avoid trash newspapers and magazines the same way that I avoid the trash TV shows, especially these fake reality shows. I can't stand any of that garbage, but there is a big part of the culture here in the US that loves it. So I think it's just a personal interest on everybody, whether they like it or dislike it.
44. In the countryside especially, we have milk delivered to our doorstep in bottles. And it's something that I'm very passionate about. I'm really passionate about supporting our local milkman and supporting our local dairy farmers. I get my milk delivered on Monday and Thursday and I love it. It's amazing. We always have fresh milk at the door.
Only way you're getting your milk delivered here is if you order your groceries online and they have delivery. I don't think there's probably hardly anywhere in the US that still does this. Maybe some smaller towns possibly. And if there's American viewers watching this and they do this somewhere where you live, please comment below, let me know. But I want to say that for the most part here in the US, there's a grocery store, convenience store, a supermarket, a Walmart, something where you can just go buy your milk off the shelf without having to drive very far at all. And the only way you're going to typically get it delivered is if you order your groceries to be delivered.
45. We generally tip 10% in restaurants. And we prefer to tip it in cash because then we know it goes directly to the waiter or waitress. However, some restaurants, especially London restaurants or chain restaurants, will already add a service charge to your bill, which is normally 12.5%. And some of us will get very angry about this and will ask for that to be taken off and will instead give cash directly to the waiter or waitress because we know that they are not on the best wages and those tips form a big part of what they earn. And yes, I do that.
Here, the suggested gratuity is 20%, although you aren't required to pay it. That is what is the suggested gratuity. There's a lot of people who just can't grasp the idea of tipping and don't do it, which I feel if you can't tip, then you shouldn't be eating at the place you're eating. That's just my own personal opinion. Don't attack me. Because most of the people are making like $2 an hour as a waiter or a waitress or a server. Now, autograt, like what she just said, if they do it here, it's generally 18%. And there'll be some sort of clause in there that'll say if your party's greater than, it's usually 8 people in most places. Some restaurants might say as few as 6 people, but most of the time, if you have a party of 8 or more, they're going to auto-grat 18%. And the chances of getting that removed is going to be up to the restaurant, but it's probably not going to get removed. But I agree. I'd rather tip what I want to tip. I'm going to tip better than the minimum 18% anyways. But I'd rather just give the tip because I want to give the tip, not because I'm forced to give the tip. On the flip side, even when I get bad service, I generally will still leave a tip, but they're not going to get a tip as good as if they would have given me good service. Tonight was a prime example. I eat out alone quite often, and no matter what, I'll at least usually tip $5 or more. Tonight, the server was terrible. The food came out wrong. She barely spoke to me. I had to chase her down for everything. So I only tipped her $4, which is still not a bad tip in my opinion for a $12 or $15 bill. I was really annoyed though, and wanted to leave a note on the receipt, but I just held back and I said, you never know, somebody could be having a bad day. You don't know what their situation is. It's not worth getting angry about. And so I just did the $4 instead of $5. I just ate at the same restaurant yesterday, and I left that waitress, bartender, I left her $7. I sat in the exact same seat as I sat in yesterday. And it's because that bartender was very attentive, paid attention to me, food came out perfect, never had an empty glass, never had to chase her down for absolutely anything. So she got a $7 tip today. The bartender, she got a $4 tip.
46, we're very indirect. Instead of saying, I don't like it, we would say, well, I don't hate it. Or, it's not my cup of tea. Yeah, we just hate being straight to the point. We don't like offending people. But it can be very, very confusing for people who aren't from here. 47, most Sundays, we have a meal called a Sunday roast. We normally have it in a pub, or our mum will cook it for us. And it's the best meal in the world, and everyone's favourite Sunday roast is their mum's Sunday roast, and their mum's Sunday roast is supposedly better than any other Sunday roast, but everyone says that, but my mum's genuinely is the best.
I don't know if that's similar to what we do here, Sunday brunch, Sunday fun day, and it's generally kind of like a lunch breakfast kind of combo, and it's usually around between 10 and noon, so maybe you skip breakfast. You don't have a lunch, but you just do a brunch instead. I don't know if that's what she's referring to or not. Or if a Sunday roast is just like a special meal that, like maybe a little bit better meal than you have Monday through Saturday because you have more time, and it's just like, we're going to put a little more effort into making this meal. I don't know if that's what she meant. Somebody tell me if you know.
48. Although fish and chips are really famous here, I would say that going out for a Chinese and going out for a curry are way more popular. We do that way more often. Fish and chips, I probably have it once every 2 years. Fish and chip shops have declined in quality. Number 49, we will do literally everything in our power to avoid the most minor awkward situation. I was walking with my friend the other day. She is quite awkward, and she had a plastic bag full of shopping. She saw someone she knew, the bag broke and emptied out, but instead of stopping to pick it up, which would mean she would have to talk to this person, she just carried on walking with an empty bag. And I just thought, that is peak British there. Number 50, women seriously underdress for the weather on nights out. On New Year's Eve, you will see women in like bikini tops and tiny dresses, bare legs, strappy heels, but they don't necessarily get cold, and this is a phenomenon we like to call the beer blanket. Once you have enough beer in you, you can't feel the cold.
I think that can be said here, whether it's cold or hot or whatever time of year it is. And again, this is going to be regionally. I doubt that people in areas where it's snowing are going to be dressing like that, but there could definitely be people here where it's cold, but they're still going to dress that way just because that's the way they want to dress. And if the only time you're outside is from the walk to the car to wherever you're going indoors, then you know, you'll be fine. You see it a lot here in Halloween, where the females will be wearing very skimpy Halloween costumes, even though it's cold outside. And they just suck it up because that's what they want to wear and they want to look cute in their Halloween costumes. New Year's probably very similar as well.
Right, those are my 50 random, weird and just a bit quirky facts about British culture and British life. I hope you enjoyed them. Don't forget to check out Audible. You can claim your free audiobook and 30-day free trial in the description box. Along with my recommendations, just click on the link. Don't forget to connect with me on all of my social media. I've got my Facebook, I've got my Instagram, and I've got my Twitter. And I shall see you soon for another lesson.
You guys go follow Lucy everywhere she's at. Let's see.
Instagram, and I've got my Twitter.
Yeah, y'all go give her a follow since, you know, I'm borrowing this video. But just in general, this is actually the second video I've done from her channel. And I really like her content a lot. I like what she's doing. And I like her voice and her accent. It's so proper. At least to me it is. So Lucy, if by chance you happen to see me watching your videos or using your videos, I hope you don't mind. Feel free to use any of my videos for anything you ever want. I don't know. I know that you sometimes have guests from the US to chime in on how things are recognized or spoken here. I'd be happy to do that for you if you ever have any interest. But yeah, if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and you appreciate this type of content, make sure to subscribe and click that bell so you'll get notified every time I upload a new video. And since I told you guys to go follow Lucy on her Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, feel free to comment below wherever you are on social media, and I will go check out your social media and give you guys a follow. And I encourage y'all to follow each other in the comments as well if y'all are watching this video and you see other people posting their social media channels below. Go check them out and support them. I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.